we're gonna start drawing it together, okay? So I'm gonna use my handy dandy homemade ruler, and we're gonna just use 3 of these rectangles again and go from the bottom of the canvas because we wanna figure out where is our head gonna go? Really important. So the best way to do this is I would just kind of, you can see the bottom of my canvas is right here, okay? So I only wanna know like 3 rectangles. I'm gonna hold my ruler. So you can't really see the 4th one because I don't need that one, but from the bottom of the canvas, I wanna just have 3 rectangles. And so you can kind of see that there. And I'm gonna kind of eyeball it to see where's the center. And you can see it kind of ends up right here. And so those 3 rectangles are kind of the body. So it's gonna be the shoulders and the torso. So we wanna put our person's head right on top, okay? So I would say that looks like the middle. And so you don't need to do this on standing up. I would put this flat on a table. It would make it easier so you're not like holding 500 things. And we're gonna basically trace the shape. We're gonna trace the circle there, and I'll use my marker for this. And let me get that in so we can kind of get started. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going really, really simple. You'll be using a pencil, so it'll be a little easier if you feel like it's not exactly where you want. But I think this is pretty close. Oh, not bad. Kind of looks like me. So that's gonna be the head. And all of them are gonna start this way, whether you do Van Gogh, Kusama, Frida Kahlo, or Andy Warhol, we've got the head in place. The next thing we're gonna wanna do is make a torso, okay? And again, we're using our pencil. I'm using a marker just so you can see what I'm drawing. And we wanna give it a little bit of a neck, okay? A little bit of a neck, otherwise they're gonna look like this. It's not cute. So we wanna give them a little bit of a neck. So I'm just gonna stand in front so I can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna draw 2 lines. We're gonna do a little neck here and a little neck there, okay? That's the neck, pretty simple. Now that we have a neck in place, we're just gonna draw some shoulders and a torso, okay? And again, we're using our pencil because we can change things when we start painting. But what I'd like you to do is kind of draw a shoulder, and then just go straight down. Okay? Easy, very simple. See how it kind of looks like me? It's interesting. All right, so now we're going to try to draw Yayoi Kusama. So she is a Japanese modern artist. She's still alive. Out of all the artists who are painting, she's the only one who's alive. She's actually 93 this year, so that's pretty impressive. So she has a very distinct look. She's actually famous. A lot of her art has polka dots in it. So that's what we're going to take advantage of and use those very simple shapes, which is the theme of our class. And she also often wears red hair, cut really short. So we're gonna use those 2 things, just like all the other artists who are drawing and painting today. We're taking advantage of those distinctive features. So that way we don't necessarily need to draw a face with eyes, nose, mouth. We can really convey the persona of the person we're sketching just by using these simple shapes. So we've got our basic figure here. And let's start with just doing her hair because it's a simple shape and we can make it more complex or keep it really simple. So we're gonna just kind of follow the circle that we have in place, and we're gonna just make a little kind of half circle over the top of the head. Yeah, kind of like that. I'm gonna make mine a little more even if I can. And again, remember you're using a pencil, I'm just using a marker so you can see what I'm doing. And now we want to give her some bangs. So we drew the outline of her hair, which will be a little bit off of her head. And then we want to kind of think about where would her eyes be and her eyebrows, and then try to get a line right across so we can really make good use of the fact that she has red hair and a specific haircut. So I'm going to say it's right about here. I'm just going to go all the way across like that, like a line. And it does kind of look like it could be her eyebrows, but we're going to make it her hair. And she has a very specific cut. It's short hair above the shoulders. So I'm just going to kind of draw this line out and think about like making a triangle in here. So go a little bit this way. Okay. And now the goal is you want to try to make it look similar on the other side. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to turn around really quick so I can see. And make it go there and go out. Okay, so pretty close. Got this nice big shape here for her hair, but I want to kind of draw in where her collar would be because that's going to be really helpful to make sure we're doing everything in the right spot. So you can actually connect these 2 lines, and that'll be the collar of her shirt. Now, we're going to add the sides of her hair, and we're just going to connect this here with her hair here, and we're just going to go like this. And we're gonna do the same thing on this end. Okay, and now you can see we have her hair in place. We have the collar of her shirt, and we have her bottom of her chin right here. So now this is where you'll use your eraser and get rid of this line and this big circle in here. And you should... Okay, so we used our magic eraser. I erased that initial line, and you can kind of see you've got her hair, her face, and her body. So the cool thing is this is kind of done. You could actually just paint this whole thing red and it would be clear that it's her, but we need to add the most important detail for this painting, polka dots. So, you know, I love tracing things. So I would find like a cup or a mug, or I found the lid to some colored pencils that I have, which is a nice size circle. And we're just gonna trace a bunch of polka dots. So if you have a smaller circle and then maybe something a little bit larger, you could use a larger one for the back and a smaller one for the shirt. And there's no right or wrong here. You can place it wherever you want, just space it out a little bit. You can even mix them. You could have a little bit of both on each one, or you could just use the same size all the way around. But we want to have polka dots on the background, so it's kind of like wallpaper that she's standing in front of, and then we want to add some to her shirt. So I'm going to do that really quick, and I'll start with this. I'm just going to add some polka dots to her top just by tracing this circle. And again, don't feel like you have to get it just perfect. We're just sketching with a pencil. Oops. Okay, and so you get the idea. And I'm going to add a few more here, add a few more in the background, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so we've added some circles, and a nice little tip that I'll give you guys is you can also include like half a circle. So it doesn't always have to be a full circle on the canvas. I like the idea of adding a couple where it doesn't quite fit, so it looks like it keeps going. So I did that here, and I did something similar on her top. And so now you're actually ready to paint. You can definitely go back in and add a few more details if you wanted, like some lines for her hair, but you don't have to, but you can if you like. And so my best advice, so we've sketched it with our pencil. When we want to start painting, my best suggestion is start with the background first. So you can see here, I did a light yellow and then a darker yellow on her top. And I would just make sure you don't use the same color, because you don't want this color to be exactly like this, because then it's going to blend together. So you just want to make it look a little different. She always had polka dots, so and I thought it would be good to like match her hair and kind of use the same paint. So I would suggest doing red here, red on these dots, and then doing whatever you like, but you're free to do whatever you want. So you can make them any color you like, but it's really clear that her hair is generally red when she's seen, so just keep her hair red. And then I think it's going to be really convincing that it's her. So one of the reasons I like her a lot is because she actually worked alongside some really famous male artists, and she was really the only woman at the time in New York. One of her contemporaries is Andy Warhol, who's someone else we're going to draw today. But she didn't get really famous. Warhol and all the other guys she worked with at the time in New York became really famous, and she really just didn't seem to get enough publicity. But what's interesting is a lot of her male counterparts kind of copied a little bit of her work. So she really didn't get her fair due, but she's a very famous artist now. And as I said earlier, she's alive. So that's pretty cool that we get to paint her potentially. So if you don't know about her, look her up online. She's awesome. And I'm a huge fan of hers. So here we go. Yayoi Kusama. Well, I hope you're happy with your painting, and don't worry if you're not. Just remember, it's all about simple shapes, and there's enough details in these images that people can figure out who they are. So I wanted to just quickly give you some tips before you start painting. So my art teacher always says paint from the back to the front. So that's why I mentioned when you're drawing, at the end of those videos, I said, let's start with the background first when you want to paint. It just makes it easier. So always think back to front. So you're going to do the background first, then you're going to work on the person. And then any little details like little dotted lines or sunflowers or the lines on Van Gogh's hat, all of those things are the last thing you're going to paint. I wanted to quickly just give you a couple other tips. So when it comes to making flesh tones, I'm going to recommend two options. If you're painting Kusama, Van Gogh, or Andy Warhol, I would mix the yellow ochre with the white, but you're going to have mostly white with a little bit of yellow ochre. So just mix it a little bit because they all have similar skin tones. The one that will be a little different will be Frida. So for her, I would actually mix white with raw sienna. So it's a little bit darker, but start with the light first. So add white to your plate or whatever you're using to hold your paint, and then add just a little bit of the darker color at a time. Because if you put too much of this, you're going to have to use the whole tube of white. So start with the lighter one first and add your darker color into it. For everything else, I think you can match the colors. You have an awesome color palette with all the paints you have available. So I was looking through them, and these are perfect for Van Gogh. All the blues, they work. So from the shirt under his jacket to the jacket to the background, these work. Also for Van Gogh, you may want to mix a little bit of orange and yellow to get his beard, because his beard isn't really fully orange and it's definitely not blonde like yellow. So I would do a little bit of yellow and add a little bit of orange at a time to where you get like a light orange for his beard, and that'll be great for him. And then for Frida, one of the colors that I have on the actual image that we're sharing is pink. So you can do that two ways. You can use red, the red that you have, which is crimson, and you can mix that into white to get pink, like a light pink. You can also try the magenta with pink, either way. So just keep in mind, start more with the lighter color if you're trying to mix, and add a little bit of dark into it. It'll just make it easier and your paint will go last longer. The last thing I would suggest is, you can see in my painting here, this is an old painting I did of Kusama, and that's a very old painting. I think it's actually one of the first paintings I did back in 2018 of Frida Kahlo. It doesn't exactly look like her, but I still like the painting because I painted a long time ago. And for both, you can see I made like these really bold black lines outlining, like here it's her shirt, here I outlined her hair. So you can do that, but I would do that at the very end. After you finish painting, you can go in with some black paint and make those lines. You don't have to, but if that's something that you want to try or it looks interesting, go ahead and try it. The very last point I'm going to suggest is if you are interested in actually adding a face to these images, like eyes, a nose, or lips, feel free. I think they kind of work this way, but they can definitely work with more features. So I'll leave that up to you if you want to go in and add more details. But my goal was to make sure that we focused on simple shapes and that you guys had fun. And if you feel like stressed out about adding eyes and if they're not perfect, don't worry, go back, paint over it, and just go back to what you had before. But either way, I hope you have fun, and thanks for joining me. I can't wait to see what you make. Bye.